Thank you so much for joining us. This is our first chapter meeting of the year. So welcome everybody. Happy New Year. 2026 is going to be an exciting year for the Western Lake Erie chapter. We have some really exciting speakers that are coming up and some activities that we're planning. The board got together over the weekend and put together a planning session for the year. And so we have a lot of really cool things that we're planning on doing. So keep an eye out on our website and also your emails. So we do try to put our announcements on both those places as well as doing information on LinkedIn. So I am Stacy Yatzek, the current president of the Western Lake Erie chapter. We do have quite a few of our board members on the call today. Again, those are all updated on our website, so you can see profile pictures and email addresses on our website. So I'm going to direct you guys to that if you want to reach out to any of our new members or new directors or board VP on our board. But I'm going to turn it over to Kristen Waters. She is our VP of programs, and she is going to introduce our speaker for today.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. And it is my pleasure to introduce our January speaker today, Priyanka Suresh Shah. This month's speaker, Priyanka Shah, is an Agile transformation coach. She's a senior AI ambassador at HSBC and an experienced project and delivery leader with over 20 years of experience across IT, Agile, and enterprise transformation. She has led large-scale change initiatives, coached leaders and teams, and delivered impactful programs across industries, including financial services, technology, and consulting. Priyanka actively blends agile thinking, AI, and human-centered leadership to help project professionals improve delivery outcomes, decision-making, and stakeholder engagement. She is PMP certified, holds multiple agile credentials, and regularly speaks at global PMI events, chapter meetings, and leadership forums. She also serves as Board of Directors VP, Marketing and Communications for the PMI Pune Deccan India chapter, and has served as Board of Directors leading volunteers development portfolio earlier, where she has led award-winning initiatives and high-impact conferences. Known for her practical, relatable, and engaging speaking style, Priyanka focuses on real-world insights that attendees can apply immediately. So please raise your claps for Priyanka today. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Thanks for that warm welcome. And thank you. Happy New Year and namaste, everybody. Before we actually start, I hope my screen is visible.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So before we dive in, please share in chat what's your first reaction when you hear the word change. You can choose from these pictures. So these pictures represent curiosity, excitement, anxiety, and fatigue. Okay, excitement, anxiety, excitement, leadership, curious. Okay, wow, amazing. Thank you for that. So, as project leaders, we often focus on timelines, but these emotions are what actually drive the behavior. This tells us something very, very important. Resistance is not the problem, unaddressed emotions are. Change is not just about processes and tools, it's about the people. Today, we are going to explore how resistance, resilience, and renewal show up transformation and how leaders can guide people through uncertainty. Thank you, everybody, for joining today. Today's plans, tools, and frameworks. The human side of change. Often manage projects as if we are moving chess pieces on board. But in reality, those pieces, they have fears, they have families, they have histories. Today, we are going to talk about the messy human middle of transformation. We will focus on the human dynamics of change, not just plans and tools. As project managers, we all master the Gantt charts. But today we are going to tackling the messy human stuff because 70% of change initiatives fail due to people dynamics and not the technology. This session is going to be interactive, so please keep the chat open and feel free to participate as we go. You can also unmute and talk whenever you would want to share, otherwise, chat is always open. We are also going to have some Zoom polls as well, so feel free to join in. In the next 40 to 45 minutes, we are going to explore why resistance is normal and often logical, how project leaders can build resilience instead of burning people out, and how we move from change fatigue to renewal and momentum. As I said earlier, this will be interactive. So I'll ask you for your input. I'll run a couple of polls as well, and I'll invite a lot of reflections. So be prepared. And of course, there are no right or wrong answers. And we are going to be like no focusing whatever is share whatever everybody is sharing here will be here. So this is not only about frameworks or roadmaps or processes, it is about people, you and me. Because people, no matter how good they are, how good the strategy is, change only succeeds when humans move with it. So let's dive into this conversation. Most organizations don't struggle with change plans. They struggle with the change acceptance. As project managers and leaders often sit right in the middle between strategy and people. As I mentioned earlier as well, change initiatives they fail less due to processes or technology, but more due to the people. Project managers are often asked to manage the change without being taught how to lead humans through it. So my first question, maybe let's do some quick warm up. Please type in one word in the chat. How does change usually feel in your organization today? Chaotic, okay, difficult, mhm, challenging, confusion, right? Resistant, scary, nervous, pockets of acceptance and resistance too. Too much change too fast. Okay. First resistance, confusing, always done in this way. Okay. That is also one of the thing. All right. All right. That's correct. This is how the change in today's organization, in today's world, we can see. And let's make this change human friendly today. We are going to look at all of these things today. So before we, yeah, variety. Thank you. Thank you, Rashia. Time consuming. Yes, that's right. Changes can be time consuming. All right, let's see the change curve. All right. Transformations, they hit like a storm. New tools, restructures, agile shifts, and whatnot. But people, we cycle through denial, anger, bargaining, depression, exploration, and then acceptance. So, key dynamics here are resistance. Resistance, most of you have given that in chat already. It is not about the laziness. Resistance is survival. Brain have two things like frontal cortex and amygdala. So when we talk about resistance, our brain amygdala, it screams as threat. Then second one is uncertainty. It kills motivation. Studies shows that it spikes the cortisol by 30%. And third one, change fatigue. In fact, post COVID, 42% of workers they have reported burnout from constant pivots. And no, I am not saying this. This is as per McKinsey's report. So one question to all of you again, put that in the chat or maybe use reaction button. Have you ever led a project or worked in a project where maybe scope crept but team morale tanked? It like no went down the hill. Has it happened with you? Yes, no. What was the case? Yes, Jennifer. Change curve is like that. The stages of grief. Yes, Roshan. Thank you. Anyone else? Were you part of any project where scope creep happened, but team morale also went down the hill? It tanked. The project was, yes. Yes, Christine. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's correct. It happens many times because we are not robots. Change is emotional. We are going to unpack resistance now. There were a lot of people who have mentioned about resistance. We have to shift our mindset from labeling to understanding. But before we do that, let's do a quick poll. This is a Zoom poll. So there will be a question on your screen now. Jeff, can you help me with that? Change reality. So, what do you encounter most in your projects today? So, whatever change initiatives that you have in your projects, what do you encounter most? Is it like open resistance? Is it silent disengagement? Is it change fatigue? Or is it confusion and mixed signals? Ten seconds more. Okay, mixed. Ryan said combination of A and B. Okay, B and D. Mm-hmm. All right. So, Jeff, can we clear the result? Maybe. Okay. Silent disengagement has got most the votes. Hmm. Actually, like this is how we can see silent disengagement. It is often more dangerous than maybe like no visible resistance. Open resistance is lower, like 14%. Confusion and mixed signals. And I think most of you have mentioned that in the chat as well. So, yes. Thank you so much. This is usually about what people, the team members, they fear losing certainty, competence, influence, or even identity. Okay, so let's dive into that. Resistance. This is common misconception. It is rarely about people being difficult. When people resist change, it is because they fear loss, loss of control, competence, or identity. They don't see the why clearly, or they have been through too many changes that didn't stick. So, resistance is not irrational, it is human. When we label people as resistant, we often stop listening to them. One question to all of you: think of a time when you yourself you resisted a change. What triggered it? Any change, could be in professional life or personal life.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. So think of any time when you resisted a change. You yourself resisted a change, and I want you to think about, why did you do that? What triggered that? Why did you resist the change? We saw that resistance is usually about, like, no, fear of loss, loss of control, lack of trust, or even change overload. It is rarely about stubbornness. Okay, you didn't understand why it was happening. Okay. So there was no clarity. It had an impact on people I care about. Okay, yes. So there was a fear. There was no clear path of what the change would impact or help. Again, no clarity. So if you see, when we talk about resistance, if we dig down into the detail, we will come to, like, no, either of these things. Confusion implementation processes, yes. So if you dig down, this is an information. This is not opposition. It is only about loss. Could be loss of status, loss of, like, certainty. As I said, like, no, you were not clear because there were so many uncertain things. And then competence as well. Fear of unknown, lack of trust, or involvement as well. And then obviously change overload. So this is nothing but the information. If we again go into the details, how we can navigate through it. This is very much natural. Resistance is natural. It is not negative at all. It signals fear. It signals loss of control or lack of clarity, as you mentioned in the chat. There could be, like, no, various types of resistance. If you see around, like, no, in your teams or so, there would be active pushback, there would be passive disengagement, or in fact, there could be like this emotional fatigue as well. So there are practical techniques that, as leaders, as project managers, that you can, like, no, implement so that you can navigate through this. We could start with maybe resistance reframing. In this, what you are doing, instead of maybe asking why are they resisting, try asking what are they protecting. Empathy mapping we are talking about. Like, ask what are they losing or what are they gaining. So what do you think? Most people are maybe, like, no, afraid of losing during the change. What do you think? Most people are afraid of losing during a change. Could be professional, could be personal. Okay. Control, structure, or routine. That's right. Security, losing control, comfort. Yeah. Yes, that's correct. And their job as well, right? Yes. This is why empathy is important. It is no longer like soft skill. It is leadership skill. So this is one of the tool that you would want to use as a leader to navigate through. And in fact, I am going to, like, share a lot of handouts after this session and empathy mapping. So I am going to share one of the template which will help you with this as well. So stay tuned. Empathy mapping, that's one. Second, maybe co-creation, where As leaders or project managers, what you can do is you can involve your team members. You can involve your team members early, and you can co-create with them. So maybe like no, invite them and you can ask them, what if we prototype this together? What if we plan this together? So what you are doing? You are co-creating. This is another technique to navigate your resistance. And the third one is storytelling. Here, you can actually use storytelling techniques to bond with your team members and feel why they are like resistant. I'm going to share my story here, okay? And this is maybe from my one of the agile transformation journey that I was going through for one of the teams I was involved. And what we did, we introduced a Kanban board for them. It was like a regular delivery team. It was a simple board, Kanban board, simple, nothing fancy, right? Just visual. Now, what happened on paper? Everything looked great, perfect. The board was up, the columns were defined, like limits were defined, everything. Work items like stories, they were perfectly and neatly written. But then here's the problem, nobody was actually using it. Actually, stand ups still happened. Daily meetings. Is there any question? Am I audible? Okay. So, stories, people were working on stories, stand ups still happening, like daily meetings still happened. But then people, nobody was looking at the Kanban board. They were speaking from their memory. Tasks were getting updated, but not daily, or maybe like, no, they were getting updated hours later, in fact, sometimes days later. And when I asked how things were going, the response was, oh, yes, yes, we are using Kanban. Yeah, we are doing Kanban. At first, I thought this was resistance to the tool. But when I slowed down and I listened to them, I realized something else was going on. The team was afraid. The board made work visible, and this visibility felt like exposure. People were worried about being judged, being questioned, and also being labeled as slow. So instead of pushing the board harder, we changed the conversation. We said, this board is not for performance evaluation or your review, performance review. It is for helping you. It is for helping each other. We are going to remove the blockers and bottlenecks. And this Kanban board is going to make it visible where the bottlenecks are. In fact, to make them comfortable, we even removed the names from the cards from the Kanban board for some time, for a while, and we focused only on the flow. Within weeks, the board became the conversation starter instead of like control mechanism. Resistance didn't disappear, I would say, but actually trust replaced the fear that they had in their mind. What looked like resistance to a process, it was actually fear of visibility. When we addressed the fear, adoption followed, and result skyrocketed trust. In fact, if we talk about Harvard studies, there was this research done, and it said when trust skyrockets, resistance drops by 25%. And that's what like no happened in our case as well. Anyone here in the group up for sharing your resistance story from your project management career? Anything that might happen? that would have happened, you have faced, maybe not with your team, but maybe with some other teams you might have seen? Anybody would want to share?
Yes, I'm going to share one. This is a very interesting one.
Hmm.
Resistance. Um, we were planning a vacation, and my 18-year-old,
Hmm.
he was a little resistance because he was not included in the planning process. So now we've learned that we need to actually discuss all the plans and the schedules before we can actually book a trip. So it's
Hmm.
better if we include them from the beginning and explain the why. Literally saying these choices are better because they might be less expensive. These choices are better because it's less time travel or less traffic. The why is important. So
Yeah.
I thought I mentioned that.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Lovely. That's really important. So we are going to shift our mindset from labeling something to understanding. We don't want to label that like, no, these people are resistant, but we would want to understand them. This is the main key here. So when someone pushes back or maybe misses a deadline or disengages, pause for a second and ask, what might this person be afraid of losing? This question alone can change how we respond to others as leaders. So, this is another tool. What's behind the behavior? From behavior to root cause. You are going to shift the lens. You are going to look at, like, no, you are going to mentally map what people do versus why they do it. So, you're going to map what people say, what they do, and then think about what they might be afraid of losing. If you start asking this simple question, you will understand a lot of things that your team members are doing. Okay, another reflection moment. Please share that in chat. What's one fear or concern you have noticed during a recent change? This is not about what people say, but what you sensed underneath. You can mention your reflection in the chat, or you could, okay, Margot says a lot of above items. Thank you. If you have something to share, you can also unmute and ask, unmute and talk. Insecurity, jealousy. Okay, Tiffany, that's good. Thanks for sharing. Anyone else? Security regarding job or role, loss of authority. Okay, thank you, Christine. Thank you, thank you. Yes. So we need to go underneath and we need to understand what is the real root cause here. Ability to make decisions, changing schedules, the complexity of the job, and misalignment across organizations. Thank you so much. Thank you. Let's move on to the next, and this is about change fatigue. This is not resistance. Change fatigue is not resistance, it is exhaustion. People stop pushing back not because they agree, but because maybe they are tired. I'm just tired. I don't want to do this. Change fatigue happens when there are too many initiatives running in parallel. There are no visible wins. There could be constant urgency, and there is literally no recovery. So, without any recovery, constant urgency, without any visible wins, and too many initiatives running in parallel. And you could see, like, no, there are symptoms, as in there could be passive compliance, there would be burnout, there would be this too shall pass, that mindset. So before we maybe like no go into this detail, Let's go to another Zoom poll. And Jeff, would you please launch the poll? This is about on a scale of 1 to 5, how fatigued do you think your teams are right now? Your scale is 1 to 5. So 1 is energized, 2 is mostly okay, third is managing, four, fourth is tired, and fifth is exhausted. Okay, Daniel says 3, that is managing. Margot says 4, which is tired. Okay. 5 more seconds. Respond fast. Okay. Jeff, maybe let's see the results, please. Oh my God. See, this is revealing. So most of them are managing. So many teams, they are delivering, but they are tired. Like they are running on empty. Okay, only 4% are energized and maybe mostly okay. Okay. So PMs, project managers, they often push timelines while teams silently withdraw themselves. So that's nothing but like change fatigue. So this change fatigue, what we can do is we can start building the resilience. And resilience don't come from motivation speeches. Somebody just you're inviting in your organization, somebody's coming and giving you a lot of sweet talks, but then nothing happens. It comes from realistic workload, clarity, and permission to pause and reflect. Once we understand the resistance, the next question is, how do you help people stay steady when change doesn't stop? The change is continuously coming, so many things are changing. So you want your team members to stay steady. By stop, I mean stay steady. So it is not about telling people be strong, you can do it. It is about creating environments where people can recover, they can adapt, and they can stay engaged. So resilience is designed, it is not demanded. So if we see this framework, there are 3 layers: clarity, control, and connection. So clarity is what is changing versus what is not. So you are aware of all of those things. Control is when your team members they have autonomy of how things will work, what and how they are going to work. And connection is basically psychological safety and trust. We are going into that in few minutes. So even small actions like maybe acknowledging uncertainty or something like that can dramatically reduce stress. And few other practical techniques. Okay. So you can normalize uncertainty. It's okay not to have all answers yet. You can normalize this thing. You can reduce the cognitive load, like less changes at once. You could do maybe safety check-ins. You can maybe start your meetings with red, yellow, green, whatever, like no change readiness. So you can start your readiness based on these colors. Then you can also celebrate the small wins. In fact, daily wins, you can do those micro celebrations via your Teams or Slack badges. They have plenty of those things. And then one more thing that you could do is you could create pause points. This is like no something like your resilience ritual you can talk about. Maybe you can start with breathing techniques before your actually daily stand up, just 2 minutes. And obviously, like no retrospective for changes and not just delivery. You could do that as well. That is also nothing but like a pause point. So resilience is not the tough thing. It is not about the toughness. It is about like bouncing back like a rubber band, right? So if we pair it with psychological safety, like, can I risk a bad idea here? So people should be like, no, able to ask that question. One question to you. Does your team have psychological safety? And if you would want to maybe again rate your team on scale of 1 to 5, what do you think? How you would rate? Is your team psychological safe? Do you have that psychological safety in your teams? 4. Okay, that's good thing. Mm-hmm. Between 4 and 5, that's good. Okay, Krisha says 2. All right. 4, that is good thing. And that's where like no leadership would want to fuel this behavior. As in, we would want to make sure that we are working on this. Thanks for sharing that. So again, if we go into the reflection, what's one thing that you could stop or simplify or postpone right now? So we talked about like no these techniques, some of these techniques here about building resilience. Okay. Now I want you to think about your project working on whatever you are working on, whatever is going on. If there is one thing that you could stop or maybe you could simplify or you could postpone right now, what it would be, what you would do. Mhm. So sometimes leadership is not about adding more, stop negativity. Okay. So leadership comes in like, no, it is about removing the friction. It is about removing negativity, as Sandy mentioned. Right. So most organizations, they over index on communication, but maybe they under invest in connection. Yes. Needing all answers upfront, allowing ambiguity, okay, and simplify workflows. That's very important. That's right. So yes, so this is how you are going to think about this. As I said, like again in your handouts, there is one action plan that you're going to like download and you're going to write down. You're going to actually work on this. And there is this one of the question that it has. What you are going to stop in your next change initiative. You'll have to think about this. Now, here psychological safety will play huge role. It is not about being nice. So psychological safety, it's about creating an environment where people can tell the truth early on. Okay, they are not waiting for things to break. They are just talking about it upfront that, okay, I think this is going to break, or like, no, we did this, but something bad might happen because so and so. Because they have that environment. Okay, they don't have to follow like, no, some rules as in, okay, don't speak or speak only when you are asked to, because they have this environment. Psychological safety enables honest feedback, early risk signaling, okay, and learning during change. Now, my question to you, what happens when someone raises a concern in your project? Okay, Daniel says a general observation, silent objectors that do not actively participate in initial discussion decision making. What we could do then? Do we get to the root cause? Why? Why they are behaving like this? Do you want to go into that? And then maybe if we understand, then we remove that problem, whatever is like no, hampering them. That would be one of the things. Okay, so coming back to psychological safety, this enables, as I said, people speak up when a safety is high, honest feedback. It risk surface early, like people are early signaling risk and any issues that might happen, and then learning changes, as in people learn during the change. This happens when safety is high. Okay, now when safety is low, what happens? So people are silent, people are playing maybe blame game, and there are surprises late in the like no cycle. So again, question to you that I was asking, what happens when someone raises concern in your project? What happens? What do you do? Anybody allowed to raise concern in your project? If yes, how it is taken by others, by the leaders? Any good practices here? Evaluate it, determine the impact, and discuss it. This is best thing, right? Okay, perfect. This is best thing. So people, if they are not afraid of speaking up, they are raising a concern, and then they are not getting like no that pushback. Why did you speak up? But that is getting discussed, okay, evaluated, and yes, right. Try to explain the why or what is driving the change. Okay. Adding office hours meeting to address questions and concerns. Mhm. Okay, that is. So this is important, right? Psychological safety. This is again really, really important as yes. Start with awareness and why it is important early and often. That's correct. Thank you so much. So if we talk about how leaders or project managers they can build psychological safety during change. So again, some of the techniques for all of you. Teams watch how leaders they react. Communicate with empathy. Yes, correct. You are spot on, Sandy. We talked about empathy map. So yes, I am going to give you one exercise. Just a minute. So teams watch how leaders react. They don't see what they say. They see their behavior. One defensive response can shut down entire team or maybe like no any honest feedback for weeks, even for months. So as a leader, model behaviors that team can copy, and some of the important behaviors that can build psychological safety during change would be the first one very easy, invite input early. You can invite team members to provide their inputs early on in the project. The second one would be respond with curiosity, not defensiveness. Okay, just ask, okay, why do you think so? Be curious, don't defend something. And the third one is acknowledge effort, not just outcomes. Okay, even the effort matters. Show that. Okay, so Sandy, for you and for everybody else, one mini exercise. I want you to rewrite this sentence based on this slide. Okay, whatever we discussed so far. So, sentence is we don't have time for this now. We don't have time for this now. If you would want to rewrite this sentence, what you would write? We don't have time for this now. Okay. And my hint to you may be like, no, use empathy. Mm-hmm. I like that input. Can we discuss during the next meeting so that I have some time to think about it? Okay, that's good. Let's make time to discuss your concern. Wow. Yes, Jennifer. We already have leaders who are talking with empathy. Let's discuss our options for moving ahead. Let's put on the parking lot list. Okay. I'll schedule a meeting to discuss your concern. We don't have time for this now, but with early input, we might be able to discuss efforts. Okay. Okay. Yes. All right. So instead of maybe we don't have time for this, we can, I think many of you already mentioned, we can try something like that's really important. Let's decide when we can address it. What we are trying to mention here is the language matters. Small language shifts make big difference. The language, the choice of words, whatever you are using, however you are speaking, these small things, they signal respect even when constraints exist. Okay. So, yes, I want to hear more about your concerns. Let's take this offline. So, this is a very, very important. And again, in your handouts, I am going to give you a language cheat sheet for leaders where, like, some examples how you can replace some of the words, some of the phrases so that, like, no, your language is basically empathetic and your team members, if you are using that language, your team members would be uh, feeling psychological safe because of the words, the choice of words, and the language you are using. So, again, in your handouts, you'll be getting that as well. So, this is important, and I'm so happy that most of you have already got that like correct in the chat. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciate. So change is not just about the adoption. It is about meaning, growth, and contribution. Change is not complete until people find meaning, growth is visible, and purpose is clear. Change succeeds when meaning and growth both are visible. Need to ask question as leaders, how does this change help people grow and not just comply? As leaders, as project managers, we need to shift from compliance to commitment. We need to act as connectors between strategy and human experience. Change doesn't end when go live happens. That's actually where renewal begins. And renewal turns change into growth. Now, after prolonged change, people need this renewal, like energy, hope, and a sense of new beginnings. This phase is about helping teams move from move from like fatigue to flourishing. We can do this through rituals of closure, recognition, storytelling, and creating new traditions. Remember, renewal means recognizing effort, not just outcomes. Reflecting on what worked at and what didn't work, helping people rebuild confidence. Without renewal, change leads to just fatigue and nothing else. With renewal, it leads to capability. So, practical tool for you would be like no change retrospective. I mentioned that earlier as well. So, instead of retrospective for your delivery items, you are asking your teams maybe what drained our energy in this project, what drained our energy, what gave us energy, what made us excited, what should we carry forward. And this is nothing but just agile thinking applied to humans, if you see that. So renewal happens when people stop asking why is this happening to us, and they are like no starting to think how does this help us grow. And this is not only in professional life, this applies to personal life as well. So renewal, like it is about post-change thriving, like embed learning, what worked, what to ritualize. You could celebrate it with maybe change hero awards, anything, whatever works for your team. And then last, you could track it via your like pulse surveys or whatever feedback loop that you would have. And you could aim for maybe 80%, 90%, whatever renewal score. And you could lead by example, as in, like, no, you can model renewal in your updates. In fact, this will help your teams to renew faster. Okay. So, one question to all of you: what one practice you could introduce in your team tomorrow, starting tomorrow? Type that in chat. What one practice you could start tomorrow? You could introduce in your project, in your team tomorrow. Okay. I talked about like post change thriving. I talked about embed learning, celebrating, and also like tracking. Be clear on the purpose of change, include team in conversations early in the decision process. Okay, great. Celebrate small wins. Thank you. Yes, please note these things. Start doing them and you will really find difference in your teams. Work to better understand resistance. Encourage candid feedback. Yes, thank you. Celebrate the quick wins or low hanging fruit. Okay, that's great. Perfect. Okay, and mhm, yes. So, our key takeaways. What you can apply immediately starting tomorrow. These tools are very simple, as I mentioned. So, change empathy map, change pulse check, leader language cheat sheet. All of these are in your handouts that I'm going to share in a minute. Very simple, but very, very powerful. You could use them consistently. If you use them consistently, they are going to help you lead change with people, not at them. Okay. So, change empathy map, it's basically to understand the emotions and fears. And then change pulse check, it would be like short recurring feedback loop. You could decide based on whatever your team feels comfortable. And the third one, as I said, the sample lead or language cheat sheet I am going to provide. So phrases that build trust. And so starting tomorrow, you can like apply them in your day-to-day work, and you also have action plan for you in the handouts today. I want you to commit to yourself, like what all changes that, what one change that you are going to start doing starting tomorrow. So that is one thing that you would be doing. Okay. So that is the key takeaway that you are going to get. And the final reflection, if we talk about what is one thing that you will do differently in your next change initiative in your organization. Okay. In chat, what's one thing you will do differently based on whatever we have seen so far? Or maybe complete the sentence. One thing I will do differently in my next change initiative is. Mhm. Apply. Okay. Apply some concepts. All right. Share change map for awareness. Yes. To include team in the process. Correct. Ensure the why is understood with the change. That's very important thing. Create change champion cohort across business units and roles. Okay. That's different. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. You could start with that. Starting tomorrow, that's one thing that you would do differently. Be inclusive of the whole team and ensure I'm checking up with the others individually to make sure they understand, right? To understand the fear regarding the change. What is the person losing? That's good. Thank you. So people don't resist change. They resist being changed without being heard. That's the important thing. Okay. And now the goodies time. Let me leave you with this thought: change is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Okay. So, as project leaders, project managers, we might not be able to control every decision, but we do control how people experience change. When we lead with empathy, clarity, and maybe courage, we don't just deliver outcomes. We build trust, we build resilience and readiness for the future. Thank you for your openness and participation today. This is wonderful, and a lot of people like no, this was. Thank you very much for this active participation. These are the resources that you can use so that you can continue learning after today. What I have done, as I mentioned, I have bundled some of these things, free resources, including your personal action plan, resilience builder toolkit, then your leaders language cheat sheet that I mentioned, then renewal rituals and a summary of session as a key takeaway. The first QR code is about that. You can download them for free from the first link. Okay. You could scan the QR code, which says scan me in the middle. That's the free resources one. Okay. And download them. And I have also given the QR code for my maybe like no LinkedIn profile and one newsletter that I do publish fortnightly. It's based on AI, Agile, and leadership. In case you are interested, you can subscribe to that as well. The first one is the free handouts, the resources that I had talked about. It also includes the summary, key takeaways, and the other plans as well. Okay, scan these for all the resources. And I would love if you could connect with me on LinkedIn. Let's keep this conversation going. And I would love to continue the conversation there as well. Okay, I will stay back for questions, if any. Have you all scanned the this one? I mean, the handouts. Anybody left? Okay, questions?
I'd like to share something that I've experienced.
Okay, yeah, please go on.
So when dealing with change, you're going to have your champions, then you're going to have some people that are just no way, they're going to be your naysayers and you're never going to change them. But if you find those people who are initially resisting change and you do everything that we've talked about, you explain the why, you give them support, you help, you understand what they need for psychological safety, you are actually going to be better off because then you're going to have their support and then they're going to be able to champion it and make you more successful. So I love finding those ones that initially resist because I want to flip them.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. You. Anyone else who would want to share maybe your experience, your thoughts, if not questions? If not, maybe I'll hand it back to. Thank you very much once again, and thanks for the chapter for providing me this opportunity. And thank you everybody for this wonderful participation. I really appreciate. Thank you so much. Over to you, Jeff, Christine.
Excellent. Thank you, Priyanka. I guess while Jeff's pulling up the slides, I just want to open the floor for any new members, first-time guests, or anyone that's recently received any manner of PMI certifications. If you want to either put your name in the chat or take yourself off mute and do a quick introduction. Okay. Hearing none, just a quick shout out to our board members. Obviously, check out our website, pmiwlec.org, and that has all of our board member credentials, photos, and email addresses and whatnot. But just wanted to run down the quick list. Obviously, Stacy Yatzek, who opened the meeting, is our president. Ryan Courtney, I'm our president-elect. Jeff Panning, who is sharing slides, is our VP of Administration. Margot Kameyer, who is also on video, is our VP of Professional Development. Emmanuel Onyema is our VP of Communications. Rakesh Wamasamy, our VP of Finance. Bricia Grothaus, VP of Membership. Kristen Walters, who introduced Priyanka, is our VP of Programs. Jay Raymer is Director of Professional Development. Tiffany Budzinski, Director of Finance. Monique Broughton, Director of Administration, and Krisha Schaefer is our Director of Membership. Obviously, for those that were on the call, certainly enter the PDU claim code in your PMI portal, as well as the QR codes that were on the screen to take any surveys. Be on the lookout. As many well know, this is our 25-year anniversary, and we're looking to form a committee and celebrate that in large fashion. So certainly keep tabs on our Facebook and LinkedIn feeds for any further information there, and would love to have you volunteer as part of that team. So again, thank you to Priyanka, and look for our invites for next month's chapter meetings. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Priyanka.
Thanks,
Nice job.
everybody.